Alright, man, peace. So, brothers, I'm finally getting around to covering Jemele Hill's quote-unquote departure from ESPN, which really was a firing. And I didn't feel rushed to make this video because I told you, brothers, that this is how this was going to transpire last year when I first started to cover the Jemele Hill narrative. Anyone with a brain knew where this was going, because Jemele Hill, being the liberal black female that she is, was speaking out of her ass instead of from her brain. Because liberalism is not conducive to utilizing your brain matter. It tells you to speak from your heart, speak from your emotions. And there are so many so-called black males in America who've been trained to think like liberal black women. And that's why so many of these brothers get triggered whenever they see someone like a Jemele Hill, who they think is on their side, but who really isn't. I told you, brothers, last year when she first came to the forefront, calling Donald Trump a quote-unquote white supremacist, that she was a liberal black woman. She is not your friend. And then so many of these pro-blackity black dudes got their feelings hurt when it was revealed that she co-signed a sentiment that the so-called black man is the white people of black people, or the white people of black women, whatever the hell it was that she co-signed, that nonsensical gibberish. Just to reconfirm for some of you brothers who might not have understood it initially, what her true alter was. That being a quote-unquote black feminazi. That's all she ever was. And Michael Smith followed her down that rabbit hole. And I'm guessing that he's still employed by ESPN, but who knows? Maybe he's not. Maybe the dude has been fired. We just don't know about it. He's a so-called black man, so they figure, we can get rid of him and nobody will miss him. But quiet as kept, ESPN has hired somebody different to run their network, a person by the name of Pitaro, who's really going to wreck shop. I don't think that the Jemele Hill firing is going to be the last that we're going to hear about ESPN reconfiguring themselves and their paradigm in regards to delivering information. That's why I state that Mad Max Kellerman better watch himself. He's the one who likes to get on television and ramble about Donald Trump. He can get away with it because First Take has the highest ratings of any show on TV. So I'm sure that when Pitaro steps to him about his political ramblings, that is what Max Kellerman is going to say. Unfortunately for Jemele Hill, the sports center that she ran with Michael Smith, the Six, did not have that level of success. And even me as a so-called black man, I watched their show and I cringed at their attempts to analyze the political sphere when it was truly unnecessary, because it was very obvious that they had no understanding of what they were talking about, and that Michael Smith, being the quote-unquote black male liberal that he is, was just a simp in the truest sense of the term, that being a simpleton following her around. And as I told you, brothers, she was going to be removed, but they were going to make it look like it wasn't what it actually was, which is that she made some statements that she should not have made. Donald Trump most likely got in contact with the heads of ESPN and let them know that he was going to bring some major tax levies against them if they didn't make some major moves. So they removed John Skipper. They replaced him with this dude Pitaro, who has stated point blank, we're getting out of the political talk business. That is what this man Pitaro has stated. So, like I told you brothers last year, this was not going to be allowed, man. You cannot just get on television or be a public figure and make all the asinine statements that Jemele Hill was making. She wants to be a political pundit, meaning what? She wants to talk shit. She wants to be an activist. That is what liberal black women do when they realize that they're not wife material. And that's all this is really about. When the liberal black woman gets to a certain age and she realizes that she is not wife material, she wants to spend the rest of her life trying to figure out how she can get attention. So that is why you see Jemele Hill stating that she's happy that she's leaving ESPN. But I decided that I'm going to use two separate websites. One, a super liberal black website, and another one, a quote-unquote white conservative website, to see how they cover the Jemele Hill removal. So let's start on the pro-blackity black super liberal website known as The Root, which is ran in the background by Caucasian Jew liberals. Big surprise. And let's see what it says. In the middle here, it says The Root. Blackness in your inbox daily. It said blackness in your inbox daily. So what if I click on my email, what am I going to see in there? Some Air Jordans and some sunflower seeds and some bad credit? Is that what I'm going to see? An Afro pick? Some Bubblicious, some Now or Latest? What am I going to see in there? I tell you, man, these websites are too much. They're really mocking a lot of you so-called pro-blacks. Y'all just don't understand that. Blackness in your inbox daily. Oh, look at the writer, the scribe on this article, named Angela Helm, and she has a picture of Angela Davis in there. I tell you, man, these people are just caricatures. Let's see here. Jemele Hill, a black woman who remains so well on television. I'm surprised they didn't capitalize black and put it in bold print. Jemele Hill, a black woman who remains so well on television. Yeah, she sure did. She stayed a black woman while she was on TV. Talked a whole bunch of nonsense and had sex with some of her white co-anchors behind the scenes. And felt lucky to meet that black trainer that she met at the gym and dragged him on a TV show and embarrassed her damn self. That's what they mean by she remained a black woman. Okay? A lot of these sisters, they mock themselves every day. And they're so proud and arrogant, they don't even see it. Jemele Hill, a black woman who remains so well on television, had a rough go of it at ESPN in the fallout of calling Donald Trump a show-enough white supremacist. Just that. She's reportedly set to completely sever ties with the company at the beginning of September. No, you mean the company is set to sever ties with her ass. That's what they're set to do. Hill's commentary is just too direct for folks who claim to love when folks tell it like it is. No, it's not that her commentary is too direct. It's that it's too stupid. It's too ignorant. Speak your mind, but be informed. That's what I've always said. I've never stated that LeBron James should not speak his mind. What I've said was, if you're going to try to utilize your celebrity to make political statements, at least inform yourself. Know what you're speaking about, as opposed to speaking from the basest level. Donald Trump is a bum. He don't give a fuck about the people. Like, give me a break. That's nigga nonsense. And I know a lot of people are not going to like me saying that, but it is what it is. If so-called black people are so worried about being respected, then show that you can become erudite. Show that you can edify yourself. So that when you speak, people are not just going to look at you as another silly Negro running your mouth. Because that is the reputation that a lot of our people have. I'm just being real with you. And it's unfortunate because we do have a scholarly class. We do have a class of so-called black people that are highly intelligent and informed. But oftentimes, they feel like they can't speak because the loudmouth element of so-called black people, they like to dominate conversations that they know nothing about. And it's unfortunate. But Jemele Hill was just another big mouth chick on television. And the scriptures tell you in Proverbs 9 and 13, a foolish woman is clamorous. She's simple. She knoweth nothing. Okay? The word clamorous means a loud mouth. A foolish woman loves to run her damn mouth. But she's simple and she don't know a damn thing. That's in Proverbs 9 and 13. For them, being blunt is okay when it comes to Trump spewing alternative facts on immigration and illegals, but not so much when it comes to black lives and the First Amendment. Well, you know what's funny? So many of these so-called black liberals, they love talking about immigration and they're so in favor of immigration. But many of them will be the same people complaining when illegal immigrants take their jobs. That's what many so-called black liberals will do. They will complain when illegal immigrants take their jobs. So it's so interesting to me. I was talking about this on the phone with my brother Yawasop months ago. And we were saying, because we're both the same age. So we go back to the 80s when Ronald Reagan was talking about immigration. And George Bush Sr. was talking about immigration. And Bill Clinton was talking about immigration. And George Bush Jr. and Barack Obama, they all were talking about immigration. Donald Trump is the first guy that we saw that talked all this shit and then said, I'm actually going to do what I said. Whether you agree or disagree, the man actually said, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And people are so concerned about illegal immigration. The people here in America have so many problems. And you have so much of a bleeding heart for illegal immigrants. There's a process for you to enter any country. And if you don't abide by that process, you do deserve to be held under a greater deal of scrutiny. That's the bottom line of it. People might get mad at that. They might disagree. The problem with our people, so-called black people, is that we have not been taught to think like administrators. We have not been taught to think with a ruling class mentality. Everything is so fucking emotional all the damn time. And that's why a lot of times our men are not taken seriously when they speak. Because people do not expect the so-called black man to speak from a position of knowledge. They expect you to speak like a woman does. I'm just being real with you. And, you know, when you see an article like this is a liberal black woman writing the article. This is another person who really hates the so-called black man. That's all this is about. They try to cover their hate for the so-called black man by talking about white people all the time. So here's Jemele Hill, of course, chiming in on the Serena Williams, quote-unquote, catsuit controversy. She said, had a few thoughts. The word thoughts should have been in quotations. Had a few thoughts on Serena Williams and the French Open's decision to ban her catsuit. It's racist. I guess she didn't take the time to look up Anna White. But, you know, we're not going to let feelings get in the way of facts. This is why I laugh at most of these so-called media members. They're a big fucking joke. And no, Serena Williams should not be allowed to dress like that at a tennis tournament. No one should be allowed to dress like that at a tennis tournament. If you want to dress like that, go to your aerobics class. All right? That's what that outfit is for. Go do yoga and that shit. After her slot on the 6 p.m. broadcast of SportsCenter with co-host Michael Smith was canceled, Hill remained with the network as a columnist at The Undefeated, a sports, race, and culture site owned by the company. In other words, a bunch of house niggas trying to act like they're field niggas. That's all you have at The Undefeated. A bunch of pro-blackity blacks who are really just globalists. Once again, pro-blacks are actually pro-white. That's what they are. Okay? A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of you brothers who've been on my channel for long enough, you're starting to get that now. Pro-blacks are actually pro-white. All these pro-blackity blacks on the internet talk shit all damn day. That's nonsense. All they are is a bunch of fucking globalists. They try to act like they for their people. They really not. They for holding hands with everybody, being pro-homosexual, pro-lesbian, pro-transgender. And when you ask them about what really should be done with our people or about our people, they have no answers. You know why? Because they're more concerned with making sure that the liberal black female gets glorified than concentrating on who they need to concentrate on, that being the so-called black man and the so-called black boy. That's why they have these TV shows, Black Girls Rock. Why is that? Because they know the black girl's not a threat. The so-called black female is not a threat to anybody other than herself and her fetus, because as we know, the so-called black woman has aborted 15 million fetuses since the mid-70s. That's a fact. All right? So they always going to kiss the black woman's ass. Once again, the woman is beautiful when she's in her right mind, but the average modern-day woman is not in her right fucking mind. Most of these broads are batshit crazy. And if you're mad about that, oh well. Variety reports that Hill is believed to have met recently with new ESPN president James Pitaro, whose vision of the network, according to Deadspin, is to neuter it and lay submissively at the feet of Roger Goodell. In other words, James Pitaro understands that they're in business and they know who their business partner is, that being the NFL. It's not our job to come on TV and give hot takes about politics. I say this all the time. When I hear so-called black people ranting and raving about politics, all that is a Negro who's trying to sound smart, who's really not most of the time. Because the most successful races on the planet are the least worried about American politics. I promise you that. It's only the races that don't have shit and are confused that are so caught up in American politics. America is a big hoe. Stop trying to marry that hoe. The site said the relationship spiraled in light of Hill's direct, clear indictment and commentary on sports, culture, and politics. No. There never was a relationship to spiral. James Spataro most likely told her a few months ago, look, we're going to let you go. We're going to give you some time for you to bounce back on your feet. We're going to negotiate your buyout. So, start packing your shit. That's what he told her. People like that, they don't call employees into their office to talk things out. They call them into their office to give them the directive. And that's it. And she could take it or leave it. Once they took her off TV, they were telling her, you're not relevant. I saw her popping up on a lot of these low-class, low-grade shows on ESPN, making an ass of herself, looking like she needed to be somewhere, making lemonade or baking cupcakes. Her ass is on TV with 5 pounds of makeup on, trying to talk about basketball. It's like, why don't you go sit your ass down? Grown-up tomboy, looking ridiculous on television. And Michael Simp, nowhere to be found. Hill ran afoul of ESPN's constitutional cowardice at least twice in the last year, and that was before Spataro showed his belly to NFL owners and MAGA chuds on Monday. The first was for using her Twitter account to say something factually true about our senile, amoral grifter of a president, and later she was suspended for 2 weeks for observing that boycotts are an effective form of protest. No, that's not actually true, but I would expect a liberal black female or any liberal black who's trying to perpetuate a lie and a facade to omit certain important components to the story. The reason why Jemele Hill was suspended for 2 weeks was not because she was advocating for the potency of boycotts. It was because she was advocating for NFL fans to boycott the products of the sponsors of the NFL, a league that has a multi-billion-dollar deal with the network that she works at. That's how dumb her ass is. And I said that at the time because she's an idiot. That's the bottom line of it. There's no getting around that. In regards to her statement that Donald Trump is a quote-unquote white supremacist, well then you know what that means, that he has something in common with you, Jemele Hill. Because you're a white supremacist too. Underneath all that cover, you love the white man. Brothers, look, I cannot stress this enough. The liberal black woman, and even the so-called pro-black woman, underneath all that bluster and that fluff, they love the so-called white man. Yes, they do. Because if they really were as devoted to the quote-unquote cause as they claim, they would understand that their most important role is acting as a consort, a wife, and a mother to a good so-called black man. That's their job. Not their job to be running around giving political hot takes on TV and talking about female equality to men and all that bullshit. That's just a half step away from promoting lesbianism. That's all it really is. And Jemele Hill has came out many times and promoted the homosexual/lesbian mentality, which is consistent with the Luciferian mindset of the average liberal black. So, like I've told you brothers before, it's a package deal when you subject yourself and you submit yourself to that liberal ideology. It's not just about being so-called pro-black or advocating for protests of so-called white supremacy. It's also about advocating for female supremacy. It's about advocating for homosexual supremacy over you, i.e. Black Lives Matter movement, really Black Lesbians Matter movement. It's about advocating for transgenderism over you, i.e. gender confusion, a genderless society. That's what it's about. So you have to understand all that when you say to yourself, I'm going to embrace black liberalism. It says here, she remains deeply unpopular with both the stick to sports crowd and the black people are the real racist crowd. That Venn diagram is nearly a perfect circle, and earlier this summer, Fox News spent a whole segment doing a touchdown dance over a wet dream of Hill being fired by ESPN. Her departure will be met by relief from NFL owners and hoozers from the very worst people on earth. No, I don't think that NFL owners give a shit that Jemele Hill was let go, because they have bigger things to worry about. NFL owners are billionaires. They're not worried about some frog-faced 45-year-old broad with some busted-looking braids in her hair talking about black this and white that, and not sincere about any of it. None of it. I tell you brothers this all the time. Whenever you see these broads acting like activists, they're normally either old or unattractive. You very, very, very rarely ever see a quote-unquote dime piece of any race running her mouth on these issues, trying to be super liberal with the bullhorn in their hand and making all of these wild tweets, uninformed statements, unless it's somebody who's getting older or is unattractive. Hopefully she'll find her way to a role with a company that hasn't dedicated itself to courting favor with those two hideous groups of people. Well, I'm already on record as stating that it would not surprise me if Jemele Hill tries to bounce back with Fox Sports 1. It also wouldn't surprise me if she leaves sports alone for a while and tries to engraft herself in with a political network like MSNBC or CNN or what have you. Wouldn't shock me at all. Or tries to link up with the Oprah Winfrey, DuVernay crowd, that Ava DuVernay, Oprah Winfrey cabal in Hollywood, so that they can help promote and push black female supremacy through Hollywood on television. Because the Caucasian Jew will give Oprah Winfrey, and has been giving her, a certain amount of money to push that nonsense on TV for the last 25 years. And Oprah Winfrey's new boo thing, allegedly, Ava DuVernay, is being co-signed to push a lot of that energy on TV as well as this chick on Insecure, Issa Rae. She's another member or burgeoning member of that cabal. So look for Jemele Hill to pop up being associated with Oprah and Ava DuVernay and Issa Rae very soon. Do not be surprised to see that. But certainly, in my view, she'll be popping up at MSNBC or CNBC and CNN, trying to make as many flagrantly outlandish political comments as possible to garner more attention for herself. But once again, where's Michael Smith? As I told you brothers for the longest time, this is a guy who had a family, and he's on television making stupid statements, low-level political comments and low-level racial comments on television, following behind Jemele Hill, trying to act like a revolutionary, and has not been seen on TV since then. Has not been seen on TV since then, because he was caught down the woke rabbit hole. In addition to The Undefeated, Hill was also supposed to contribute to a number of programs on the network, documentaries, the E60 News magazine, and a His and Hers podcast, says Variety. There was no direct comment from Hill's camp or ESPN. Let's see about the author. Miss Bronner Helm. Notice it says Miss, not Mrs., and it'll never say Mrs. Miss Bronner Helm is contributing editor at The Root. Walk it like I talk it. So you must walk a whole lot of bullshit, because that's all you talking. Okay, so now this is going to be an article on the website Outkick the Coverage, which is presided over by a quote-unquote conservative sports reporter by the name of Clay Travis. Let's see how he covers this information pertaining to Miss Jemele Hill. It says here, ESPN's new programming strategy seems clear now. Whatever decision former ESPN president John Skipper made, do the opposite. Yep, ESPN is going full George Costanza now, doing the exact opposite of what would have been done before. It's very obvious that ESPN finally figured out that the reason why their ratings were falling was because of too much political talk. And they went too far left with their Luciferian agendas. Everything with them was about promoting homosexuality and transgenderism. I knew that ESPN was on the way down when they tried to push that Michael Sam shit on the viewing audience. And they showed the dude kissing his boyfriend on TV during the draft. I said to myself, this is very clearly agenda driven. And then the next year, they show quote unquote Caitlyn Jenner at the ESPYs receiving the Courage Award or whatever award it was that they gave that person, Caitlyn Jenner. That's when you know that ESPN had clearly pushed the rubber band too far and that it was going to snap back. Let's see here. On Friday afternoon, the typical time to drop news that isn't favorable, two big stories broke. Jemele Hill was leaving ESPN on September 1st, less than a year after her tweet calling the president a white supremacist, and roughly 6 months after she was removed from the 6 p.m. Sports Center. The report from Jemele said the departure was amicable. Of course it was amicable. What else was it going to be? She wasn't going to show any disdain for Mr. James Pitaro when he fired her, because that would have been reported. And she does not want to look like a malcontent to the demographic that she's trying to fit into next, that being the Caucasian super liberal demographic on the super liberal news network that she's going to try to become a part of. She has to show a brave, strong face. Remember, she's a so-called strong black woman. That might be so, but only because Jemele Hill was able to extract a substantial cash advance on her salary and will no longer be able to murder ESPN's brand with her consistent and shrill cavalcade of everything is racist takes on social media. Unfortunately, this person is very correct. And I've said this before, and I'm directing my commentary to the so-called black man. There's plenty of racism out here for us to analyze, brothers. We don't have to make it up. We don't have to make everything so-called racist, because what happens then is that not only does it fall on deaf ears to the other races if you're truly concerned about their feelings and their opinions, but it also is going to fall on deaf ears to the so-called intelligent members of our group, of our demographic. People are going to stop taking you seriously. That's why I try to encourage brothers to utilize the logical aspect of their brain as opposed to the emotional aspect all the time. Very, very, very important. The left side of the brain is the logical part. The right side is the emotional part. We have to become more attuned to the left side of the brain. It's very important for the so-called black man. But anyway, ESPN finally decided, probably in conjunction with Disney CEO Bob Iger, who had long protected Hill as a way to help set the table for his presidential run, that continuing to employ Jemele Hill and rewarding her with airtime was helping to kill their brand with anyone who doesn't immediately see racism when the pot calls the kettle black. Now, you notice this person here states that, or alleges, that Bob Iger was protecting her because he planned on making a presidential run. We'll have to see when the time comes in 2020 if that's the truth. But what that also shows you is, once again, the dynamic behind every liberal black is a liberal Caucasian, which is what I tell you brothers all the time. Do not be fooled by a lot of these big mouths on television. The Jemele Hills, whoever they are, Al Sharptons, Jesse Jacksons, they all go to banquets and parties with liberal Caucasians, particularly liberal Caucasian Jews, handshakes, hugs, orgies, etc. Do not get it twisted. And if Jemele Hill gets to know Oprah Winfrey and Ava DuVernay, as well as I suspect she will, out there in Hollywood, because she does say that she wants to do some directing, she wants to do some producing to help push the black female cause, she's going to come in contact with them, and she's going to come into contact with their lifestyle. But she may already be familiar with that lifestyle, because as I've stated, she's become very emotional in the past at the topic of lesbianism being broached. Brothers, many of these liberal black females have dabbled in lesbianism. A lot of you guys' girlfriends have tried that girl-on-girl action before. That's part of the liberal mindset. They believe in that quote-unquote experimenting. But anyway, let's see what else this guy has to say. As if that weren't enough, Michelle Beadle, she of the infamous Shut Up and Listen White Men hot take, was removed from Get Up the disastrously expensive Hindenburg of morning shows championed by John Skipper, which has never produced any audience whatsoever. Well, it appears now that he's going into another topic. And look, we all know Michelle Beadle. She's another quickly aging liberal female. I tell you brothers this all the time. Once the female starts to hit 45 years old, really late 30s, going into early to mid 40s, if she's not married or if she's not in a serious relationship, no kids, all of a sudden she wants to become so societally active. She wants to tell you about how this demographic is not treated fairly, that demographic is not treated fairly. Michelle Beadle's another one of those people. I did a video featuring her and Tracy McGrady a long time ago, where she tried to emasculate Tracy McGrady on television because he would not partake in one of those social media challenges. You know, those stupid ass challenges that people do. T-Mac said no. I believe it was the hot pepper challenge, some dumb shit like that. And he said no, and she tried to emasculate him on air. Once again, the liberal female is not your friend. Most of these females are broken spiritually. When I say these females, I'm talking about the liberal ones. And 95% of these black women are liberal. And a very, very high portion of women in general in Western society are liberal. Probably somewhere near that same percentage, up into the mid-80s, mid-90s. And they're broken because the feminism that they've been taught has not panned out for them. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to force men to become feminists, because having women become feminists is not helping. So now the attitude is, well, if we can make the men feminists, maybe we'll be less miserable. Because, you know, nothing else is working. I'm just so miserable. That's the basic refrain for most of these women. All right? Many of these bros are very, very depressed and mentally unstable. But that's basically it on that in regards to Jemele Hill. We'll see what happens with her. Once again, I think that she's going to pop up on one of these liberal news networks, either CNN or CNBC or MSNBC or one of those networks. May even see her pop up on the CBS Morning News or Good Morning America, you know, something like that. But she's definitely going to try, in my view, to build some type of bridge with Oprah Winfrey and Ava DuVernay, Issa Rae, and try to become a part of that black pseudo-lesbian super feminist cabal out there in Hollywood. But anyway, peace.